Can't be no Autobot and a Decepticon, baby. You gotta pick.
I ain't gonna lie, whatever word you just said, that was fire.
On me. You can't be on both teams.
So,
you gotta pick a side.
Hey, you can't be no... What's that again, yeah? Oh, you can't be no antibiotic Decepticon?
I had 34 triple Ds, and then I lost 60 pounds, and I had 32 A's, but I had all of this excess skin to the point where the doctor couldn't put implants in so they had to do a lift and then put implants in. It was really hard for me to struggle with, especially having so many friends my age,
right,
seeing their bodies compared to mine. Like I still have all of this excess skin and the stretch marks I don't care about. It's not eating, just being completely unhealthy, abusing laxatives, just doing all of these things to put my body through the ringer and lose this weight so drastically.
Well, at least she got plenty of protein. Mia Khalifa has collected more DNA than the FBI. Mia Khalifa has dropped more boxers than Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali combined. Mia Khalifa wants people to forget her past, but she keeps talking about it. Shut your mouth already!
There's no better way to become rich, famous, and celebrated in modern culture than by making videos. Look at stars from days gone by. They mostly ended up dead, addicted to drugs, or washed up on the back streets in downtown LA somewhere. Now look at Mia Khalifa. She's a multi-millionaire who hosted shows with NBA legends, sat front row at Paris and Milan fashion weeks, modeled for Vivienne Westwood and Moschino, runs her own jewelry business, and has been interviewed by basically every major outlet on earth. She was a paralegal from a Lebanese family, and she didn't churn out film for years. She just claimed she made 11 of them over a few months. And within a few weeks of her debut, she was the #1 performer on the biggest adult site in the world, where she received death threats, was shunned from her religion, and her family stopped speaking to her.
ISIS was after you?
I'm not allowed back in Lebanon. I was banned from the Middle East. Which is crazy, because they're the ones who watch my videos the most.
Then she walked away from the industry forever after making just $12,000, or at least that's what she claimed.
You were paid a grand total of $12,000 US. And yet you made millions and millions of dollars for both Bang Bros, the company that you worked with, and Pornhub, the aggregating site. How could that be?
That's just how it is.
Guys, this is why you never trust something that bleeds 5 days straight and cannot die. She did not get paid $12K. These corn companies has receipts. She got paid millions.
But between then and now, Mia Khalifa, like so many others, has used in every sense of the word, famous. Not infamous, but legitimately famous, rubbing shoulders with A-listers and getting invited to their cocktail parties. Something huge happened in the world of adult content to create a pipeline to status and generational wealth. For Sarah Jo Chamoun, which is Mia's real name, she grew up right alongside the internet, and more specifically at a turning point for the sex industry.
I mean, I'm a kid who grew up playing World of Warcraft and using dial-up internet and fixing the computer at home when it broke. Like, that was my job because I was of that generation. So I think that I've always had a knack for what I like to consume online, which in turn influenced how I like to be online.
Adult content back then was an analog affair, driven by VHS tapes, magazines, and adult video stores. The money was limited and controlled by the gatekeepers. Performers like Mia got paid per scene, with no way to self-publish or go independent. And like so many others, she was pulled off the street in Miami by a random man who asked if she thought about modeling, suggesting she come down to a studio and take a look around. The studio was Bang Bros, one of the leading studios at the time.
It wasn't just, hey, do you want to come do porn? It was more so, oh, you're beautiful. Like, would you like to do some modeling? Oh, you have a great body. Like, I think you'd be great in nude modeling. Things like that. And after I came and toured the studio, it was very respectable. It was a gorgeous location. It was in Miami, in Doral, Florida. It was clean. Everyone who worked there was nice. All of their cubicles were decorated with family photos. Like, it was nothing.
She signed the paperwork, came back the next day, filmed her first scene, and a month in, they put her in a hijab, which was incredibly controversial but decisive for her career. She told the studio that the video was going to get her.
I verbatim told them, you guys are going to get me killed.
And they said?
They just laughed.
She did it anyway, and after it premiered, the avalanche started. Radical Islamic sympathizers hacked her Instagram and covered it in propaganda. They photoshopped a picture of her onto someone being beheaded. Her family disowned her.
They photoshopped a picture of me onto someone getting beheaded. and they said something along the lines of, "You're next."
Now, guys, this is not coming from me. Mia Khalifa stated herself multiple times that she had total creation control for that hijab video and that it was her idea. You know, why are they actually pretending that corn stars are the victims? Nobody got trafficked or tricked. They knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly why they're doing it for. It's to get money.
She quit less than a month later, but none of this blew over like she hoped it would, and she couldn't get back into regular employment.
I realized that I can never work a normal job again.
Bang Bros disputed her account of her career and her argument that they ripped her off. They eventually created a website dedicated to calling her out, called factsbeatfiction.co, pushing back on her claims and stating that they paid her over $178,000. They even said she filmed before with a different studio under the name Mia Khalifa before Bang Bros, and that her entire narrative was just a total lie. She claimed she walked away from adult content with her head held high, but adult content hadn't walked away from her. So naturally, there was only one way to climb back up the ladder, and OnlyFans took over the entire industry at that exact moment. When Mia joined OnlyFans in 2020, she framed it as a moral response to the Beirut port explosion that killed 218 people in her home country. She publicly pledged to donate the first $100,000 she made on the platform.
In 2020, I decided to join OnlyFans after the Beirut blast. I made the decision to join OnlyFans and donate. If I was able to make $100,000, I am donating $100,000, and that's why I'm joining this platform.
It doesn't take a very high level of skepticism to wonder whether that was true or just ethical positioning. But either way, it clearly worked out for her career. This is where Mia Khalifa became the bridge between two completely different worlds. The old world of adult content that chewed the old up and spat them out, leaving them in places like the tunnels under Las Vegas. And then there's the new world of adult content that makes celebrity entrepreneurs. Let's take Sophie Rain.
Bro, Mia Khalifa trying to act like the victim, but at the same time play I'm a hero in the corn industry is actually quite hilarious. And the crazy thing is that instead of calling these people corn stars, they're labeled as models. And that lets you know how normalized this has become, and it's freaking disgusting. And I still don't get how prostitution with a camera is permitted, but without one is criminal.
The entrepreneurs. Let's take Sophie Rain. In 2022, she was a 19-year-old waitress barely covering her bills. She didn't come from an adult entertainment background, but OnlyFans was still her exit.
My sister was doing OnlyFans, and I was like, maybe I'll try it so I can get out of this serving job, because I was just serving. I was working literally every day, 9 to 5.
Restaurant?
It's called Papa Joe's. It was some Italian restaurant down in Tampa. But it was fun. Like, I loved it. I loved serving, but I just wasn't making money.
It all kicked off with her infamous Spider-Man video.
Every time I was like, no, it's not me. No, it's not me. They're like, no, you're lying. It is. So I just kind of ran with it.
It wasn't even her, but she made about $95 million in 3 years from a case of mistaken identity.
So in 3 years, how much have you made?
I think last time I checked, it was at $95 million.
Holy f-
Here's what really happened. In September 2023, Sophie and her sister Sierra posted a Spider-Man themed photo set on their OnlyFans. Around the same time, another creator called Naomi, who happens to look like Sophie, filmed an explicit video in a skin-tight black Spider-Man suit. The internet saw the photo set and the explicit video and conflated the two. Millions of men became convinced Sophie had secretly leaked hardcore content. She clocked that it was free traffic and started dressing up as Spider-Man on TikTok to deliberately stoke the rumor. There is no real Sophie Rain Spider-Man video. The whole thing is a fantasy that lived in the minds of her audience. She also created scarcity around her content by describing herself as a virgin, though she backtracked on that a year later. I don't think people talk enough about how much these addictions can quietly affect your life, especially when it starts early in your life. It's one of those things that seems harmless at first, but over time it chips away at your focus, your discipline, and even your confidence.
And meanwhile, they're actually hard-working people who make an honest, decent living. Teachers, construction, doctors. These people help the world run, but instead they're getting paid breadcrumbs. You know, simps are also equally responsible for this. They're the ones sustaining this awful ecosystem. You know, a society where corn stars are celebrated is a sick society by all means.
My mom was coming from. The situation that I have, like, with my child's biological father is like, I would never want to cause any harm to them or their life. Like, I don't even take child support or anything.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with taking child support if you need it. However, I don't need it. And so I don't want to be, take it just to be spiteful or
yeah,
to,
I understand.
What's the word I'm looking for? Or just take advantage of the situation. Yeah, like that's not me. And so now when I look back, I always thought,
Oh my gosh. Bro has no father and a whole mom. This kid is literally starting out on life on max prestige difficulty. Guys, honestly, corn stars will need to have their kids raised by grandparents or something, because the child will be bullied and will struggle to come to terms that their parents are a freaking corn star. And at the end of the day, it's the innocent kid that has to suffer for the consequences of their parents' actions. Honestly, I feel bad for the kid.
Anna, what's it like dating this guy?
It's hard because I can't get over his past.
You can't get over his past?
Yeah, honestly, it makes me want to throw up every time that I think about it.
Gee willikers. The irony of Lana mentioning the past is absolutely hilarious, because his past is not all over the internet, Lana.
Let's talk about the not so great parts of my job being a bot. I know that a lot of what I share online is glamorized, and I can't lie, making millions of dollars a month is an incredible opportunity that I am extremely grateful for. But I do think it's just as important to talk about the downsides and the real effects that this industry has on a person. First, I want to be very clear about something. There are very few creators on here that have actually made this kind of money. I got extremely lucky. I still don't fully understand how I got into this position, but I'm extremely grateful for it. That being said, this career is not a guaranteed path to success. Unless you already have a massive following, it is incredibly difficult to make life-changing money from doing this. Over the last 2 years, I have reached my financial goals, but it came with costs that I never fully anticipated. I have been stalked multiple times. I have filled multiple police reports. I've filed restraining orders, and my anxiety is at an all-time high. The private life that I thought I could keep outside of social media is getting harder and harder to protect every single day. I've also had a break-in that forced me to increase my personal security, and the reality is, images of my body are gonna be online forever. Something I can never undo or take away, no matter how my life changes in the future. People will constantly judge and pick apart every decision you make. And sometimes the hardest part is staying silent, because you realize that no matter what you say, some people will just never respect your thoughts or opinions because of what you do for a living. I wanna be clear, I do have a great life. I'm not complaining or comparing myself to others. This job has opened so many doors and provided so many opportunities that I am incredibly thankful for. But gratitude just doesn't cancel out reality. That's why I feel a responsibility to be honest with you guys. This industry comes with real risks, emotionally, mentally, and physically. It's not something you guys can just jump into without serious thought, without serious research, and understanding of what the long-term consequences are. My intention has never been to influence young girls down this path. If anything, I want people to do their own research. I want you to ask hard questions, and I want you to think about what kind of life you guys want 10 to 20 years from now. Don't just think about the money. I don't usually open up like this, but I hope sharing this gives you a more realistic perspective on this industry. I love you guys, and thank you so much for listening.
This is why, parents, please stay in your kids' life, because it's so sad and dystopian to see normal girls start going to X work because it's so easy to get into.
She's a retired porn actress. She wants nothing but a family and love. And when she dates, she finds one of two reactions. Either the guys are like, wow, that's so cool, let's go home. And they love that, and they just want a short-term relationship with her, or they're so turned off from a morality standpoint. And I said, you are going to eventually meet that higher thinking, evolved guy who may have a checkered past himself. Nobody's perfect. But what he can do with you is have intimacy, emotional intimacy. He can talk about the mistakes he's made. She can talk about, when she went into the career, she loved it at the beginning and then gets old after a while. Again, it's not moral judgment. It's strategies with an end goal. And you decide what your end goal is, and I can tell you how to get.
I've said this before, and I will say it again. Ladies, no man wants a used car with a cajillion miles on it. Now all of a sudden, you want the man to pay for new car prices. Now, Andrew Tate, what do we have to say about this?
Choice is not related to fear, right? I have a choice, I have options, and I will not choose a negative option or a detrimental option or an option which is less favorable than the other one. That doesn't mean I'm afraid.
But what is the negative option? Why is it negative?
It's negative because the likelihood of her falling completely in love with you and staying loyal to you and really believing you're the only man for her after being through so much trauma and so many men and sleeping with so many dudes and having her heart broken and having those memories of her ex and all that crap she's been through is far less likely than meeting a nice, young, beautiful girl who hasn't been with many men. And she goes, you know what? This is the guy. I like him. Every woman who knows this and every man who watches this can be honest. Women fall in love with the person they lose their virginity to or their second or third guy. They really remember them. They really love them. Any woman who slept with 50 dudes, she doesn't even remember who most of them are. She doesn't care. If a woman slept with a bunch of men before you, she's less likely to stick it out through a difficult period in a relationship. She's more likely to just say, you know what? New answers, new dick.
That's a pretty good answer.
And that's the truth. So why would I put myself in a position?
I had nothing to lose. And I think that I also knew I need to get the Miami. I was in Miami at the time and it was where everything happened. And I just did not want to be there anymore. It felt daunting. It felt like walls closing in on me everywhere I went.
Was there like a catalyst day though? Something that happens that makes you go, fuck, I need to, or was it just slowly?
Yeah, it was the day I met my best friend on Twitter. I didn't meet her that day on Twitter. Her and I had been following each other for a while. She posts memes. I like them, vice versa. Her and I were talking about something. Oh, she said, I'm looking for a roommate. I'm asking around the office for a roommate. And I said, what if I move to Austin? I don't want to live in Miami anymore. And then I started looking up, how do you move states? Like, what does it take? What does it require? What paperwork do I need for my dogs? Like all of that stuff. And then within a month, I was packed up and moved.
And was there a catalyst for you deciding to leave the adult entertainment industry, even though you were there for a couple of months? Was there anything?
I think it was how overwhelming everything became so fast.
Okay.
Like that was the reality check. It was like when they turn the lights on at the club at 4 a.m, like, whoa,
okay.
The floors are sticky and nothing looks the same. This is not what I signed up for. It's not what I expected. I fucked up.
That's not a typical experience for an actress in that industry.
No, not at all.
That is a very atypical experience
because
you went from obscurity to number one in an industry in weeks.
Yeah.
So you got hit by a fucking truck.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, madam, you are never leaving that industry. The net is forever.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. You become a paralegal?
Yeah, for a very short period of time. Like 6 months.
Tell me all about that.
Nothing really much to say. It was for an insurance defense firm. It was pretty boring and it was very much like corporate. The insurance company that they represented was Geico. So it was like a very boring thing. And it was just paper pushing. It was really weird to work there, especially since that was my first job where I did it. I did the application and I went into it thinking, this is the shift. This is me putting Mia Khalifa behind me. And this is me like trying to be a real human. Did not work. Everyone in the office recognized me. It was a very uncomfortable work environment, not because anyone was overtly inappropriate. It was just simply being in an office, knowing anyone who walked through did a double take and is like, are you? So that was uncomfortable. And then after that, I worked at a construction company, just doing bookkeeping and office work. And same thing, I would have to go on a job site and the owner of the company just made it so I can't go on job sites. It was a distraction. It was not a good idea. It was, people would be in that situation, people would be inappropriate sometimes. But yeah, I started to feel like a burden in the offices where I was. And I hated that feeling. And I was actually sitting at that construction job in the office when I was talking to Rachel in the DMs, like, I'm going to move to Austin. Let's do it.
Now, guys, this is how I know for a fact that she doesn't regret it, because she's still doing camming for OF. And not only that, she still uses her stage name for attention and money. Come on, 2 + 2 is not potatoes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, that's it for today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.